During the first intermediate period after the collapse of Chavin, the Moche folks will be in charge in the north, and the Nazca culture will flourish in the south coast, which is a dry and desert region. There are approximately 30 different river valleys that penetrate the landscape, and it will be along these river valleys where folks will live. They are going to share a common culture, but they are going to be distinct within the region of their own riverbank. They will have a pilgrimage site known as Kawachi, where they will come together and probably even contribute labor as a shared cultural people to construct that site. But they are at the same time going to be focused individually along those river beds in this relatively dry region where the folks survive by creating underground irrigation channels. The Nazca culture is highly respected for the ceramics that are produced in this region. They have a very rich burnished surface, very, very glossy. The images wrap around the vessel, and the images are also very colorful. They are created with black outlines. That's kind of a signature of Nazca, and the walls of the pottery are very thin. All of this created without the use of a wheel to make the vessel body itself. Created with a slip, water and mineral pigment on the surface that's applied before firing. The vessel type is a double spout and bridge, and I've got one right here, two spouts with a bridge running between the spouts. This too, like the Moche stirrup spout vessel, would prevent evaporation and also be fairly easy to carry. In addition, of course, there are other vessel shapes produced by the Nazca. Why do we care a lot about these? Because we're going to be focusing on the Nazca lines. Well, because some of the images on the ceramics also appear on the Nazca lines. This is a very dry region, and that's important to know because the moisture that is located in the Amazon, and if we go up here, we can get a diagram of that, gets stopped as it's moving toward the west with the Andes Mountains themselves. It ends up basically being the snow on the mountaintops. It will only make it to the coast, which is very, very dry, in the form of runoff in the periods when, in the spring, basically, when it gets warmer and the snows of the mountains will melt. You can actually see how dry it looks in the slide that's located at the bottom of the screen right now. I think you can also see, if you were carefully observing, that the name of the culture and the place is actually spelled two different ways. These are both local signs. Nazca is most celebrated for its giant drawings, which are generally considered to be the largest artworks in the world, certainly the largest drawings in the world. They are drawings on the desert floor or the pampa, which is just a pretty flat stretch of land or plain that becomes, in a way, the perfect sketch pad. I can't give you a definite size because I have a number of different estimates, but I'm going to suggest around 400 square miles of drawings on the Earth. And there are some folks who claim that there are at least 800 miles of line, the line that make up the images. These are pretty amazing. Some of them are over 2,000 years old, fairly well preserved given that. The image that you have on the left of the slide is figure 8.3 from O'Reilly, and that gives you drawings of some of the designs on the pampa that were created by Nazca. These, for a long time, have been described as being a mystery because we are wondering why anybody would make such large drawings that can only be seen and understood from the sky. If you put a very large drawing like these on the earth, it's impossible to actually see them while you are walking around on the ground. As a result, these were only discovered in the 1930s, and I think already you're guessing how that happened. It's when we first had aviators who were flying over the Nazca Lines who could actually see that something was down there on the ground. And it was from that point on that people became interested in them and became curious about why anyone would make these magnificent drawings. There are two types of lines. Some of them are geometric lines, perhaps geometric shapes. They could be straight lines, they could be zigzags, trapezoids, some of them are spirals. There is, in fact, a giant trapezoid that is probably 900 yards in length. Some of these lines, parallel lines, extend for 12 miles, so we're talking about a network of lines. It's not this type of Nazca drawing that attracts our attention. However, it's primarily the figures. The figures are smaller images, they're older, and many of these we think come in around 2,000 years of age. These were created with a single continuous line that is never broken. There are about 50 animals that have been created as Nazca drawings, and it's these that are, I think, the most famous, and I'm going to say the most beloved. This is one of the drawings, and it depicts a spider monkey, which is not native to the coast. It actually can be found in the Amazon, suggesting that there was trade between the coast and the Amazon, and reminding us of the principle of verticality, which is fundamental to survival in the Andes. The monkey also, because it does come from the Amazon, may have been imbued with, I'm going to say, perhaps a magical meaning. I would like you to take a look at the tail of our monkey, which is a spiraling form, and we're going to see that again later. I'd also like you to take a look at the fingers of our monkey. On one hand, we have 5, and on the other, we have 4. I don't think that the Nazca artists who constructed this made a mistake. I think that there is a reason that the toes, the fingers of our monkey occur in different number. I am not sure that we at present know what that is, but anytime you have anything that is unusual in pre-Columbian Andean art, you have to ask the question, is this special? Is this outside the ordinary? Does it convey an extra degree of authority or power, or perhaps magical power that might be associated, in this case, with the monkey and the monkey's origins in the Amazon? So this is a pretty big monkey. It is 328 feet in length running across it, which is longer than a football field. So how did the folks actually create this image? We think that it was created, and there's evidence to support this, that this and the other drawings on the desert floor were created by removing stones from the ground that had acquired a mineral deposit on the surface. In other words, darker stones, to reveal the lighter stones underneath. And by stacking these darker stones along the edges, thereby creating accents from the air, making it, for us today at least, easy to see these. The lines themselves are standard in width, around 2 to 3 feet, and we think that the lines were marked out with cord and stakes so that on both sides of the line, so that people could have gone through and collected the stones from the center between the cords and taken those and piled along the edges, thereby revealing the lighter stones underneath. Okay, in other words, this means the technology was not difficult in creating the Nazca lines. It did require a large group of people working together, and I think it almost certainly required gridding of the desert floor from some kind of drawing or perhaps textile design. as a prototype, in other words, a sketch that then could be applied to the desert floor. We do have remnants of some of the stakes that were used to create these lines, so we think we're on track for understanding how the Nazca lines were actually created. This is one of the favorite images that come from the Pampa. It is a hummingbird, probably the world's largest hummingbird. It is about 450 feet long with a 200-foot wingspan, so pretty impressive. It also is an image that, again, appears on ceramic ware, and this is another view of one of the images I had at the beginning, so we know it's a shared iconography. What can we say about hummingbirds? They're aggressive, they're tough, they're quick, they're strong. They may be associated with rain, but they certainly would make really fabulous messengers because they are fast and strong. They also are extraordinary creatures because they fertilize by visiting flowers, and in addition to that, they are extremely unusual in that they're able to go torpid. When temperatures drop, hummingbirds go into a state that makes them look as if they are dead. But when the temperature comes back, the hummingbird literally comes back to life. So the images on the pampa, on the desert floor, are often selected from rather extraordinary creatures that might convey qualities that make them very, very powerful and might make them fairly good religious symbols.